الحمد لله أضعاف ما حمده جميع خلقه كما يحبه ويرضى. اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا إلى آخر الآية. First of all, we give all praise and all thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the favors and bounties Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on us. And we send salat and salam on his last and final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his attributes and one of his quality is that of Al-Mannan. And Al-Mannan, which means the one that bestows favors on us. We are all existing here because of the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are all breathing because of the favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are all alive because of the favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But these favors which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows on his creation, these favors are not given to their creation equally. There are some whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives more than the others. So some people may receive more favors than the others. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ فَضَّلَ بَعْدَكُمْ عَلَى بَعْدٍ fil ukul in one narration. And in another ayat of the Quran, Allah says Firoze, which means when Allah says وَاللَّهُ فَضَّلَ بَعْدَكُمْ عَلَى بَعْدٍ, that certainly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he favors some of you over some with regards to sustenance, with regards to provision. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give some more than the other when it comes to our provisions in this life, when it comes to our health in this life, when it comes to our senses and our faculties. Some will have more than the others. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains in another ayat, he tells us the reason why he had done that is, he says sukhriya, the word sukhriya, which means that some of you are going to help the others. So he gives some more than others so that those who are given more will be capable of helping and assisting those who do not have. And for this reason we look around and we see many will have more than the others. And not only in us as human beings that we have different favors, but even for the messengers which were sent. All the messengers were not equal. There were some messengers which were greater than the others. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Baqarah, تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْدَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْدٍ. Allah says, those messengers of Allah, some of them are better than the others. Some of them were elevated more than the others. مِنْهُمْ مَنْ كَلَّمَ اللَّهُ وَرَفَى بَعْدَهُمْ دَرَجَاتٍ. Allah says there are some whom we spoke to. For example, Musa alayhi salam, he was given the opportunity to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many of the other prophets, they were not given that opportunity. So that was a special favor given to Musa alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was even given greater blessings from Allah than Musa alayhi salam. And even Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to him was even greater than all the other prophets. So Allah says, not only for the provisions which I have given to you, I have given some more than some, even when it came towards the prophets and the messengers, Allah has favored some over the others. And not only that, even when it comes to time, the time that we have for example, the year, months, weeks, there are some which are better than the others. For example, we all know of the month of Ramadan. All of us would agree that this is the greatest month. It is not a sacred month, but it is the most blessed month, and every single one of us, we will look forward to the month of Ramadan. In the week, we have the day of Yawm al-Jum'ah, and we know that the day of Jum'ah is better than all other days, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the day of Jum'ah is considered to be the Eid of the week. So we have one day out of the 7 days, and that one day is better than the other 6 days. So Allah has placed special favor on one day over the remaining days. Similarly, in the month of Dhul Hijjah, there are 10 days, the first 10 days of the month of Dhul Hijjah, it is the best days of the year. There are no other days in the entire year that is better than the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. And we know about the last 10 nights in the month of Ramadan. There's no other nights in the entire year that is better than the last 10 nights of Ramadan. So you have the best days, you have the best nights. So in everything, Allah has favored some over some. And as for the different months, we mentioned that the month of Ramadan is considered to be one of the most blessed months that they are. But besides this, there are 4 other months which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Tawbah. Allah says, Inna iddata shuhura inda Allahi ithna ashra shahran fi kitabillahi yawma khalaqa samawati wal ard minha arbatun hurum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, certainly the number of months with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala since he created the heavens and the earth are 12 months. So there are 12 months in the sight of Allah. Since he created, this was decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, since he created the heavens and the earth. And then he says, Minha arbatun hurum. But all the months, from the 12 months, all are not equal. He says, Minha arbatun hurum. From the 12 months now, there are 4 of the months which are considered to be sacred. And being sacred means that these months, they were not allowed to fight. This is one of the restrictions that are placed in the sacred month, as well as having a lot of respect and honor for these sacred months. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he informs us of what are these 4 sacred months. Because Allah did not say it in the Quran. You look the whole Quran, you will not see the 4 sacred months. All that will be in the Quran, minha arba'atun hurum, which means that there are 4 amongst the months which are sacred. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he tells us of the 4 sacred months. He says, thalathatun mutawaliyatun. He says that there are 3 of the months which would come in succession, one after the other. And he says Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. These are the 3 months. Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. And then he says wa Rajab Mudar, Bain al-Jamadi wa Sha'ban. And then he says that the month of Rajab, this is also a sacred month. So you have the 3 in succession, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. And then he says Rajab. So Rajab is the 4th. But he says Rajab Mudar. Mudar, sometimes they translate that as being alone. Rajab is the month that is alone by itself. And this is the month which is between Jamadi al-Akhir and Sha'ban. The one between that is known as Rajab. But the word Mudar does not mean to be alone. The word Mudar comes from the name of one of the tribes in Arabia. This is known as Mudar. And the reason the Prophet ﷺ has linked the month of Rajab to the tribe of Mudar is during those days of ignorance, during the period before Islam, the Arabs, they knew of the four sacred months, but their hobby was that of fighting. They used to like to go on their battles and fight. And what they used to do is sometimes they would alter the different months, because they do not want a sacred month to come. So what they will do, they extend some days in one of the months to say, you know what, we can still fight for 3 more days, or we can still fight for 1 more week. This month hasn't started as yet. The sacred month hasn't started. And in some instances, they even took out one of the sacred months. Now, it was very easy for them to do that to Rajab, but it was difficult for them to do that to Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram, because these 3, they are coming in succession. So as soon as Dhul Qa'dah starts, you know that we have 3 straight months which are considered to be sacred. But because of the position of Rajab, this was the month that they used to take advantage of. And they used to shift it different parts of the year just so that they could fulfill their desire to fight and do their battles, because it was prohibited to fight in the sacred months. But from all of them, there was one tribe that never altered with the month of Rajab, which is the tribe of Mudar. They always upheld the month of Rajab, and they consider it to be sacred, and they always have that special respect and honor for the month of Rajab. And if you look at the word Rajab, literally Rajab means to honor and respect. The word Rajaba means to honor and respect. So when you're taking advantage and you're not respecting it, you're going against even the actual meaning of the name of the month Rajab. So this tribe, which is known as the Mudar tribe, even in those days, they used to upkeep the month of Rajab. It is mentioned in one narration that the people of Jahiliyyah, it is mentioned that they used to look at a stone. They would walk and they would see a nice, beautiful stone. And they will pick this stone up and they will say, this is my God. I'm going to worship it. I'm going to shine it up and I'm going to pray to it. So they'll carry that stone all around with them. As you know, sometimes people pick up things and they say, this is for good luck charm. In those days, they used to take this and say, I'm going to pray to this and this is going to help me to reach Allah. So they will take this stone, they will clean it up, and whilst walking, if they see another stone nicer than it, they will throw away the first one and pick up the second one and start to worship the second one, because they see a nicer stone, a bigger size. And then when there was no stones around, they will take clay and they will fashion it into a certain shape, and they will take milk and throw it over the shape that they have made with the clay, and they will pray to it. But it mentioned that when the month of Rajab reached, when it had arrived, they used to make an announcement. The announcement will be Munassil al-Asin. So they will shout out Munassil al-Asin, which means that which causes the sharp edges of anything to be taken off. This is the meaning of Munassil al-Asin. So what they used to do is take off the head of all the arrows, which is a sign to show that we're not going to fight in this month. So as soon as Rajab starts, they're going to take off all the head of the arrows, and this is what the Mudar tribe used to do. So as soon as Rajab started, they would put down all their arrows. There will be no fighting at all. So they will quit all their fighting. Also, it is mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ in one of the narrations, Rasul ﷺ, he says, Rajab Shahrullah. He says, Rajab is the month of Allah. And then he says, Wa Sha'ban Shahri. The month of Sha'ban is my month. Wa Ramadan Shahru Ummati. And Ramadan is the month of my Ummah. This hadith can be found in Targhib wa Tarhib. Also, it is recorded by Imam As-Suyuti. Now, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying that Rajab is the month of Allah, and then the month of Sha'ban is known as the month of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the month of Ramadan is the month that has been placed for us to multiply our blessings. So the month of Ramadan is the month of the Ummah, for us to be able to compete with the people in the past. And this is why the scholars in the past, they mention that Rajab is the month wherein you plant your seed, you sow your seed. So this is what you do in the month of Rajab, you plant your seed. Whilst in the month of Sha'ban is the month that you irrigate your seed, that is, you water it. And in the month of Ramadan is the month that you harvest from your crops. So we make all the preparation in Rajab and Sha'ban so that when Ramadan comes, we are able to harvest all of our crops and everything that we have already prepared. And that's why Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the famous dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to say, as soon as the month of Rajab started, he used to say, Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. O Allah, bless us in the month of Rajab and the month of Sha'ban. And then, O Allah, allow us to meet the month of Ramadan. When he says, bless us in the month of Rajab and Sha'ban, which means, O Allah, give me good health. O Allah, give me that effort that I could do to do a lot of good deeds in the month of Rajab and Sha'ban, so that I could be fully prepared, so that I could reach Ramadan with all that preparation that I've started in Rajab and Sha'ban. So when the month of Ramadan comes, I'm able to grasp all the blessings in the month of Ramadan. So this is the month of Rajab. In a day or two, inshallah, we'll be entering in the month of Rajab. We are still in Jamad al-Akhir. Today is the 28th. So we still have either 1 day or 2 days again before we enter in the month of Rajab. As for special actions in the month of Rajab, there is no authentic narration that tells us that we need to fast on a specific day, or we need to pray certain salat on a special day, or a different type of salat. There's nothing like that for the month of Rajab. For example, as you know, in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, we have Laylatul Qadr there, so all of us, we strive to pray extra salat in the night to get Laylatul Qadr. Similarly, we have the many narration about the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, that any action you do in the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, there's no other days that you get that amount of blessing that you'll get in those first 10 days. And even for Ashura, which is the 10th of Muharram, you have Ashura, the fasting of Ashura. But for Rajab, there's no narration that tells us that we need to do any extra act of ibadat. But because of it being a sacred month, and this applies to all the sacred months, that actions in them are multiplied. That is the blessings for any action you do in a sacred month, you're going to get double the blessings. You're going to get more blessings for doing it because of it being a sacred month. So because Rajab is a sacred month, any action that we increase in, we're going to get an increased amount of blessings as well for whatever action is done in this month. Similarly, for whatever sins are committed in a sacred month, the sins are doubled as well. So the sins that you commit outside of the sacred month, you're not going to be punished that much as if you commit sins in the sacred month. So this is the month that we are going to enter to is the month that we should stay away totally from sins, and we should increase in doing good deeds. In the month of Rajab, there are two main incidents or two main events that took place in the month of Rajab. And one which we know a lot, we hear every single year, which is the Mi'raj, Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. That took place on the 27th of Rajab. And all of us are accustomed to hearing about the Isra and the Mi'raj. And in your next function, the next monthly function that you'll be having, a week after that will be the Isra and the Mi'raj. So definitely the speaker, he will be speaking about Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. So I will not be speaking about Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. But definitely, as it being the greatest of gifts given to the Prophet ﷺ, we tend to only look at Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. So much so that many of us do not know of a second event that took place in the month of Rajab. Because all we focus, as soon as Rajab starts, the only thing we think about is Isra wal-Mi'raj. But it's not our fault because it is the greatest gift given to the Prophet ﷺ. He was the only prophet given the Mi'raj. No other prophet was given that. As well as the Salat, which is the greatest act of ibadah that we have, we got in the Isra wal Mi'raj. So definitely our focus and our attention will be on Al-Isra wal Mi'raj. But the other incident or the other event that took place was the Ghazwat al-Tabuk, which is known as the Battle of Tabuk. That also occurred in the month of Rajab. And that occurred on the 5th of Rajab. Now the Battle of Tabuk, it was done in the 9th year after Hijrah. So the 9th year after Hijrah, and it was the last battle that the Prophet ﷺ participated in. After this battle, he didn't participate in any other battle after that, because this is the 9th year, and on the 10th year, he passed away. So this was his last battle that he personally participated in, which is the Battle of Tabuk. And this battle is known in the Sirah, or in the history, as the Battle of Hardship. It's known as Ghazwat al-Usra, which is the battle of difficulty and the battle of hardship. At that specific time, when this battle was going to start, there was a drought period in Makkah and Medina. So they had drought. With that drought now, they were very skeptical on how they are spending. This is one. And the Christian Arabs, there are some Christian Arabs from different tribes, they rode towards the Caesar, who was the ruler of the Roman Empire. They wrote to him saying to him that we have a severe drought and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has died. So they have sent it. This is a lie, but they sent it to the Caesar. Muhammad has died with this drought, and his people are very broken up at this moment. They are shattered, knowing that he has died, and this is the right time for you to attack the Arabs, for you to attack Islam, attack the Muslims. So when he heard that, the Caesar was happy. He was looking for an opportunity that he could get rid of Islam. So he started to muster a very huge army, the entire army, and that was not no small army. The Roman Empire was extremely big. So among all the battles before this was just battles amongst Arabs against Arabs. So all the battles, we have some Arabs on one side, other Arabs on the other side. But now the Romans are coming to be a part of it. They are coming to attack Islam and attack the Muslims. So when Rasulullah heard that the king is gathering this huge army and they're going to pass through Syria to come and attack Medina, Rasulullah he started to gather his army. Even though they are very small compared to the Romans, they're not going to sit back and allow them to be destroyed. So they're ready to go and defend. And even though you might say that this is the month of Rajab, no fighting. It is not allowed to start a battle, to start war in the sacred month, but if you're being attacked, it is allowed for you to defend yourself. And that is why Rasulullah he gathered the army, because they had already started a journey to come to attack the Muslims. So Rasulullah to face such a great army, he needed a lot of weapons, he needed a lot of participations from the Arabs, and he needed a lot of things. But being the time it is a time of drought. Nobody wants to give anything, nobody wants to participate. And now the distance from Medina to Tabuk is a very far distance to go. To go in that hot weather with no water, they're thinking to themselves, this is considered to be a suicidal mission we are going on. To go so far in this hot weather. So Rasulullah he still tried to gather as much as he could. And many of the companions, they came ahead. Even though all these different circumstances, shortage of food, the hot weather, was the hypocrites, the munafiq. They came to the Prophet ﷺ and they said to him, the sun is too hot, we can't go and fight. We can't face that weather. So they declined immediately. This is one of their excuses. The second excuse that they had to the Prophet ﷺ is that we are tempted by the women from amongst the Roman Empire. If we only see them, we won't be able to focus and fight. So we cannot go and fight. So this was their excuses. So Rasulullah didn't force anyone to go. He encouraged them, if you want to go, you go. If you have an excuse, you want to stay behind, you stay behind. While there were some other believers, they came but they were sickly and they didn't have any transport that they could go with. So they came and they explained that to the Prophet ﷺ that we want to go. We want to be by your side and we want to assist you, we want to support you. But because of their health and because of the valid reasons that they have, Rasulullah told them, the best thing for you to do is stay in Medina. Because of your health and because of the different valid excuses you have, stay in Medina. And when Rasulullah told them that, tears started to fill up in their eyes because in their heart they really wanted to go, even though they were with these kind of different sickness that they had. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed an ayat comforting those believers who wanted to go. Allah says, تَوَلَّوْا وَأَعْيُنُهُمْ تَفِيدُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ حَزَنًا. Allah said they turned away while their eyes was filled up with tears out of sadness that they didn't get the opportunity to go and fight. Then Rasulullah he gathered all the companions, he informed them, we are planning to go up against the Romans now. And he said, who is ready to contribute? Everyone is hesitant because one, we have already faced so many months of drought. We hardly have anything with us. Now are we going to take out the last that we have to go and give it, to go and fight? So many of them, they were keeping their hands to themselves. The other battles, they were free to give because of the situation were different. But now all of them, they were thinking to themselves, they were thinking for a second time, until Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he came, and he had 4,000 dinars with him, and he gave it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 4,000. And Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, what did you leave for your family? He said, I've left Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave every single thing that he had. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted and said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will suffice for your family. Then Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he came, and he was thinking to himself, I'm going to outdo Abu Bakr, not knowing that what Abu Bakr had already given. He was thinking to himself, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get half of everything that I have. Half of my wealth, I'm going to take it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he went and he took half and he brought it back. And Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, what did you left behind for your family? He said, I've left half of everything I have. I've left that for my family. And then when he got the news that Abu Bakr had given all, he says, Abu Bakr will always be better than me. Even Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he brought 200 ounces of silver as a form of volunteering that towards the battle. And then it stopped. Nobody wanted to give again. And Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it public, asked everyone in the open, who is ready to give to help to equip this army? And one man, he raised his hand and he said, I'm ready to give 100 camels. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked to see who is that man who's ready to give 100 camels. And that was Uthman bin Affan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Then he said again, who again is ready? The same man, he raised his hands, Uthman bin Affan, I'm ready for another 100 camels again, just 200 camels. And then he said, who is ready again? Uthman bin Affan, he raised his hands again, another 100 camels. And that was all he had, 300 camels. And then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, who is ready again? And then Uthman bin Affan, he says, I have 1,000 dirhams, I'm ready to give that as well. And when Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw this type of giving from Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he made a dua for Uthman. He says, oh Allah, protect Uthman. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I am pleased with Uthman today for this deed which he have done. Oh Allah, you also be pleased with Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he got some things to equip the army. They had 30,000 soldiers in order to go and fight the Romans. But the equipment that they had still wasn't capable enough to be able to sufficient for that amount of army that they had. But they made do with what they had and they went. They went on this journey to go to Tobago. On their way, they stopped at the place where the people of Thamud was destroyed. As Allah speaks about the people of Thamud, where Prophet Salih alayhi salam went to, and they had asked for the she-camel, the pregnant she-camel, and they had hamstrung that she-camel, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the destruction on them. So they reached the exact place where the ruins were. And there were still signs, you will still see the places totally destroyed. And there was a well. Now the sun is extremely hot, they have traveled for a very long distance. When the companions reached the ruins, they saw that there's a well with water. So the companions, feeling very thirsty, the first instinct that they will have is go get something to drink. So they rushed and they took the water out, and they had some flour that they had brought and decided to make a dough in order to get something to eat as well. And whilst they were making this dough, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he arrived and he asked them, what are you doing? And they said, we're trying to get something to eat. We have already taken some water out from the well. He said to them, throw back that water in the well. And this dough that you have kneaded, take it and give it to your camel. Now these men, they have walked for a very long period of time. And they are very thirsty. And now the only thing that they have to drink, the Prophet ﷺ is saying to them, throw that back. You cannot take from there. You cannot eat the dough, the flour that you have just kneaded. You cannot eat from that. And he told them to pick up your things. We are continuing on the journey. Because Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them that this is a place that Allah was angry with. Allah was angry with His people. And because of that, we should not be a part of them. We should not be around a place where Allah is angry. At least you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent His adab on us as well. So He continued the journey until they reached another well and they were able to drink water from that well. And then when they were very close to reach Tabuk, the place where the battle is going to take place, when they were very close to reach, he said to them that when you reach Tabuk, there's a well there, but no one is allowed to drink from the well. The well is actually dried up, and there's a very little amount of water in the well. So when they reached, they saw the well, and water was dripping. Very small amount of water was dripping from there. And when Rasulullah he reached, he took a container and he placed it under the drips that were dripping. It took close to 2 to 3 hours before they got one container. And you have 30,000 men there waiting to drink. And if it takes 2 hours just to get one bowl of water, definitely it will be insufficient for all those men to get water from this well to drink. Rasulullah he took the bowl of water and he washed his hands and he washed his face, and then he took the remaining water in the bowl and he threw it in the well. And when he threw it in the well, all of a sudden water started to gush forth from the well. And all of them were able to come now and drink from this well. This is one of the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ. 30,000 of them were able to drink, and the water was still gushing forth from that small bowl that Rasulullah he threw back in the well. Rasulullah he stayed there for 20 days. For 20 days. When the Caesar heard that the Muslims have gathered this 30,000 men and have reached the Tabuk, knowing that this was a very hard thing to do for any army to do, to accomplish, knowing that the place is so hot, there's a drought, and still they will risk it to leave Medina and come to Tabuk, they were saying that this is a determined set of people. We cannot go up and fight against them. So the Prophet ﷺ, he waited there for 20 days and nobody showed up. The entire army, they returned back. The army returned back. The entire Roman army went back. They did not worry to have any fights. And then the Prophet ﷺ, after 20 days, because of that determination, they were able to ward off all type of harms that would have come to Medina. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he returned to Medina. When he returned to Medina, the people came out and they embraced him. And there were some of the hypocrites who had stayed back. The hypocrites who had stayed back, they came and they were hugging and they were giving salams as well. But amongst them, there were 3 men who were considered to be true believers. They were true believers, but for different reasons, they remained back. One of them, his name was Ka'b bin Malik, and the other was Murara bin Rabi, and then you have Hilal bin Umayyah. These were the 3 Muslims that they remained back in Medina. One, which was Murara bin Rabi, he had relatives that had came over. Some relatives had visited him the same time the Prophet ﷺ was sending out this battle. So the same time the campaign was going out, he got some relatives he didn't see for years. So he was thinking to himself that I've went in all the battles before, because he participated in Badr, he participated in Uhud, all the battles before he participated. So he says to himself, the Prophet ﷺ is not going to miss me. I could stay out, I could sit this one. So he remained back saying, I'm going to stay with my relatives and let them go. So he remained back. This was his reason of remaining back in Medina. The second was Hilal bin Rabi. He had his harvest and he had worked on it for months. Even though they had that drought, he still tried his best to get his harvest going, his crops going. And in that same month, he was going to reap his harvest. So now he has to think to himself, should I leave my harvest for it to fall and rot, or should I go with the Prophet ﷺ? And he decided, I'm going to stay with my crops. So his reason of staying back is, I need to take care of this. I've already started it. I need to ensure that I get to pick them, I need to get to harvest them, and I get to sell them. As for Ka'b bin Malik, he says in one narration, he says, I was very wealthy. I was very wealthy. I was not like the others. I had a good business going. So when this campaign came up, I was thinking to myself, tomorrow I'll go and prepare for the battle. Tomorrow I'll get my things and I'll follow. I'll go with the Prophet ﷺ. The day the Prophet ﷺ left, he says, he has already gone there. Tomorrow I'll get my things and I will go. And he kept on tomorrow until he realized that it is too late for me to go. He said, but as I sat there, I realized that all the people that remain back with me, they're either hypocrites or they're either those who had valid excuses. And I was there, sitting there, doing nothing. He started to grieve. It was very sad to know that he just kept on postponing it, putting it off until it was too late. He says, whilst the battle was going on, whilst those days the Prophet ﷺ was not around, I was thinking of different excuses to give the Prophet ﷺ. And so many excuses came to my mind that could have made the Prophet ﷺ forgive me for staying back. And he said, when the Prophet ﷺ, he came back, and I saw all these hypocrites coming with their lame excuse, and I saw the face of the Prophet ﷺ, I couldn't go and make any excuse. It was hard for me to go and lie in front of his eyes. If I had to go and make an excuse, maybe it might pacify him, pacify the Prophet ﷺ, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends revelation. And who knows, if I go and lie in front of the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals me as a liar. So he was worried now, should I do that? So instead of doing anything, he went to the Prophet ﷺ and he gave salam. And when he gave salam to the Prophet ﷺ, Rasul did not reply to him. Prophet ﷺ did not even give him salam. Same thing, Murara went, no salam. They gave the Prophet ﷺ salam, assalamu alaikum. The Prophet just turned his face away from them. Same thing, Hilal, he went. So someone say, how could the Prophet turn away, not even reply their salam? This was a command from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him, don't give them salam. Don't even reply to their salams. And then Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told his sahabas that the command has been given to him that these three individuals, no one are allowed to speak to them. No one are allowed to give them salams. Not only him, but no believer is allowed to give them salams. No believer is allowed to speak to them. So he says, Hilal and Murara, both of them, they stayed in their homes because nobody was talking to them again. Imagine coming out and nobody wants to see you, nobody wants to talk to you. Not even their spouses were speaking to them because the command came, no one is allowed to speak to them. Ka'b, he says, I was younger than the first two. I was younger than Murara and Hilal. So I was more bold than them, so I came out. Even though the people didn't want to talk to me, I came out. And I would go to the market and I would go to pray salat in the masjid. He says, but I would go to the market and nobody would speak to me. Nobody would say anything to me. I would go and I would sit in the masjid, pray salat, and nobody would give me salam. If I give someone salam, they would just turn away and walk away. Nobody would give me salam. Nobody was talking to me. He says, those were the worst days of my life. For 40 days this took place, more than a month. Nobody there, they had been outcasted. Nobody wants anything to do with them. He says, after 40 days had passed, another command came. The second command came. They need to be separated from their wives. These three men. Now, some of them asked, what does it mean to be separated? Should we divorce our wives? The Prophet ﷺ says, no, not divorce our wife, just separate from your wife for a period of time. So their wives, they told their wives to go back to their parents' home until the command came. So not even the wives now are with them to support them. They are by themselves. And it's 10 days, it started to get hard on these three companions. They started to get worried. Ka'b bin Malik, he said, I went to one of my cousins. His cousin was Qatada radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, I went to Qatada radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and I said, he's my cousin. The two of us are very close. If I go and I try to talk to him, maybe he might start to talk to me. So he went to a place where Qatada was alone, and he went and he said to Qatada, don't you know that I love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and I love Allah more than anything else? Qatada did not reply. He asked the same question again. He tried to bring up a conversation, but Qatada just turned away. He never replied to him until 50 days had passed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayat of the Quran, وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا. Allah speaks about the three persons that have remained back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَابَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَتُوبُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven them. He says, ضَاقَتْ عَلَيْهِمَ الْأَرْضِ. He says, when that 50 days was there, it felt on these three individuals as if the earth has become narrowed on them. They started to feel so restricted that no one is around. It was worse than a prison for them, because they are in the open, but nobody wants anything to do with them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He eventually forgiven these three individuals, and they were very happy to know that everything came back as normal. But this is to show, because of their excuses of not going whenever you're called out, whenever you're asked to do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So from the entire battle of Tabuk, as we go into the month of Rajab, there are some lessons that we should derive from this entire battle of Tabuk. One of it is, whenever things are hard, whenever the conditions are very strict on you, and you still push yourself to do good deeds, the rewards are many. The rewards are doubled and multiplied. So whenever you find yourself in a situation which is very hard on you and very difficult, and still you're going to say to yourself, I am still going to do what I have to do. I'm going to still do my good deeds. You're going to get more blessings. It is mentioned in this book written by Mufti Taqi Usmani. It's called Character Correction Course. He mentions there, he says that if, for example, you have an individual, a man who has retired, so he has no job, he's retired, and he comes to the masjid and he prays. He comes early to the masjid because he has nothing to do now. So he comes early to the masjid, he makes his dhikr, he sits there, he waits for the Zohar Salat, he prays Zohar Salat, prays his Sunnah, prays the Fard. After the Fard, he prays his Sunnah, he sits, he reads some Quran, and then he goes home. He says this is one instance of an individual, whilst you have another individual who's working. The individual who's working, he has a boss that is very strict. So he wants to come to pray the Zohar Salat, but his boss says to him, you have to reach back at 1 o'clock. Your lunch hour is 12 to 1. So at 1 you have to reach back. So now when 12 reach, he goes and he takes his lunch. When he finished taking his lunch, he tries to reach to the masjid. By the time he reaches to the masjid and he makes wudu, it is very close to the time for the Fard Salat. He prays the Fard Salat only when he realizes that if I were to stay to pray Sunnah and stay to make dua and dhikr and all those things, I'm going to reach back after 1. So he decides, I'm just going to pray the Fard and I'm going to go back, just so that he could get to the Fard. According to the scholars, they have mentioned the one with the job is doing a lot more than the one who doesn't have a job, because he has all the time with himself. Nobody's going to tell him anything. So even though outwardly you will say this man has done so much, he has prayed so much of Salat, read so much of Quran, but because of the condition you are in, if you are in certain conditions which are very strict and harsh on you and very difficult, and you still put aside some time to say, you know what, I still have to do what I have to do. So for example, even for dressing, we want to dress Islamically. We see the amount of pressure there outside there, and we still force ourselves and say, yes, I have to do this because I am a Muslim. You get double the blessings than those who are living, for example, in Makkah and Medina. Those in Makkah and Medina who are dressing like that, everyone is dressing like that. So it has become a norm of the society where they are dressing. But when you live in a country where nobody really dresses like this, and you still try your best to do that, you're going to get double the blessings. So this is one of the lessons we get from the Battle of Tabuk, which is whenever times are very hard, and you still try your best to do that which is right, to stay on the obedience of Allah, then Allah is going to double your blessings. The second lesson is obedience to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told all the Muslims, don't speak to the tree. Don't speak to these tree men. Don't talk to them. Now, many of them could have still said, what is wrong with us just talking to our fellow man? What is wrong with us? He's my husband, why can't I talk to him? He's my cousin, why can't I talk to him? They knew that we have to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even for small things, sometimes we overlook it and we say, these are small things. We could overlook it. These are minor things. Every single thing when it comes to the obedience of Allah is something major. Even if it is mine in front of our eyes, it is major if it goes against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands. So we need to always be obedient to Allah. And as long as we are obeying Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then Allah is going to show us the way. Allah is going to make things easy. And then the third lesson that we get is that whenever we are in a place or environment that you think that Allah is going to be displeased with, you should not be around there. You should not be a part of places that you feel Allah is going to be angry and displeased. For example, when the Prophet ﷺ, he reached at the place where Thamud were destroyed. They destroyed so many years ago, but because he knew that Allah was displeased, he told the companions, we need to get out of here as soon as possible. We need to move from here. So similarly, if we are in a situation where we know such and such place, the people that they are only going to do disobedience to Allah, then we should not be putting ourselves in a situation that we are there. And a good example of that is during the carnival time. You cannot say that I'm only going to go and see the costumes, or I want to see this, or I want to see that. As long as you know that this entire environment is a place that is going to make Allah displeased, then we need to stay as far away as possible. And another lesson that we get from the Battle of Tabuk is sabr and patience. Sabr and patience. When Ka'b bin Malik, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when nobody was speaking to him, nobody was talking to him. It is mentioned in one narration that a Christian came to him. A Christian came to him, and a Christian said to him, how is it that the Muslims are treating you like this? Because no Muslim is talking to him. How it is that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is treating you like this? You are one of his own followers, and nobody has time with you. Nobody wants to talk to you. If you become a Christian, then we'll all love you so much, and we'll all accept you. No one of us will stop talking to you. For anything you do, we're not going to stop talking to you. We're always forgiven. So if you become a Christian, know for sure that you'll always be forgiven. As soon as you commit a sin, if you ask for forgiveness, you're going to be forgiven. So become a Christian. But Ka'b bin Malik, he had patience, he had sabr. He did not take into those temptations. And he continued with his sabr, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped him. Another lesson that we get as well is that do not allow your family to divert your attention from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, Murara, his relatives came. Think to himself, I need to be with my relatives. And many times we do that. Sometimes we have certain functions and time to go to Masjid, and then we say, you know what, a relative comes over, we say we can't leave them alone. We need to stay with them. If they came, then bring them along. No use that you stay away from the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just to please them. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, La tulhikum amwalukum wa la awladukum an dhikrillah. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Munafiq, do not allow your wealth and your children to divert your attention from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So do not allow, you have them, these are gifts from Allah. You have to have them in this life, you have to have wealth, you have to have your children. But never should you allow these things to take your direction or your focus away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So never should we allow that. And last is that of procrastinating. Ka'b bin Malik, he had the intention, he wanted to go. From the beginning, he wanted to go on this battle. There's nothing that is keeping him back. The only thing he's saying, I have it all. When I'm ready, I'm going to do it. And he kept on putting it off and putting it off. And we see many of us, we are like that. For example, when it comes to reading the Quran, sometimes we say, you know what, maybe in Ramadan I will start to do that. Or maybe when I go for Hajj, after Hajj, then I'll do this and then I'll do that. So we put it off until Hajj. Some of us who are young, we say, when I turn old, then I'll do so and so. When I turn old, then I'll start to wear my hijab the way it's supposed to be worn. And we put off things, and we keep on putting it off, until we realize that there are many people that I know, they were very wealthy, and because of their businesses, they always used to put off Hajj. Because they used to think to themselves, whenever I pass this on to my children, I'll be free at that time and I'll go do Hajj. But unfortunately, they didn't reach that age Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't allow them that long period of life, and they died, even with all that wealth, never getting the opportunity to perform Hajj. So this is one of the tricks of shaitan. Shaitan always allows us to procrastinate, and we can see it in our daily lives. Most of us, we can see it. Sometimes we are on our phone, and we are on our Facebook and WhatsApp, and we are time and time is going, and we're going to say, when I finish these few messages, I'm going to go and pray. And by the time you finish reading those few messages, some other messages come, and you start to read again. Sometimes a video comes, and you start to watch that video, and you continue, then you realize the Zohar time already passed, but now you have to go and cover it. Whilst you had the time, you could have performed it on its correct time, because you're occupied and you say, just now, I'm going to do it, you end up missing the entire thing. So our life should not be like that. This is part of the trickery of shaitan. We are thinking that we are in control, but when we are doing that, shaitan is in control. So these are some of the lessons that we are given about this beautiful month of Rajab and about the Tobago expedition. So as we enter this month of Rajab, and we are looking forward to Mi'raj, and we are looking for Al-Isra, Mi'raj, and one of the greatest gifts was that of Salat. And we will talk about that in the Isra and Mi'raj, about the Salat. But how much of us hold on to our Salat? We need to hold on to it before we start to be happy about it. So for this period of time, have sabr, be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try your best to prepare yourself, so that when you enter the month of Rajab, you enter it with some kind of determination. You need to be as determined as the companions. Look at how determined they were. Even though they were droughts, they were not going to give up. And as Muslims, we never give up. We strive and strive and strive until Allah makes a way out and Allah makes everything easy for us. With this, inshallah, we end. Wa akhiru da'wana, and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.